All right, guys, we enter the second half of the NWSL season this Friday in just a few days' time. So first half of the season was 13 match days. Every team played every single other team once. So now this is the beginning of the return fixtures in the NWSL. Sandra, when you look at big picture storylines for NWSL closing out the second half of the season, what stands out to you as something that we all have to pay attention to?
Oh my goodness. I wanted to hop on here, Lisa, and say the Shield race, of course. Like surely that's going to just heat up and get really spicy and just like really keep us on our toes. But I don't know if that actually happens because Kansas City Current is just too good. So I'm gonna say that they walk away with that shield. And I think what's going to be a little bit more exciting is maybe who kind of jockeys for position in between there. So I want to see if a big break in the middle of the year affects this sort of super team that Kansas City Current has become. Because we've seen the greats do it. They are consistent, and consistency is key for the really elite teams in NWSL. So maybe if they come back and they stumble a little bit, it might raise some eyebrows and some question marks, but I just think they're really just too well just organized and locked in for anyone to really kind of disrupt that, even if it comes in the form of a 4-week break.
Kansas City is at the top of the table, and they have an 8-point buffer between themselves in first place and Orlando Pride, which is in second. Kansas City, they already have 11 wins on the season, and they come into the second half of the season on a 6-match winning streak. They haven't dropped points since May 2nd against the Seattle Reign. They are also 6-0 at home. Kansas City is electric. I chatted with Lo yesterday on Live with Lo. Go listen to the episode if you didn't hear it yet. But not only did this summer break, did they do fitness tests and work harder than they do in season to prepare for the second half of the season. But they also had the inaugural Teal Rising Cup that Kansas City hosted, bringing in Chicago and also some Brazilian teams that they got to play against. And Lo talked about how these international tournaments, which Kansas City won, they lifted the trophy, but it was a chance for players that don't play as much to really see a lot of field time and get rotation. That means more depth for Kansas City when they don't even need more depth. They have enough. They actually need to share some of the wealth with the rest of the league. I don't think that there's going to be the slightest hint of a hiccup in what Kansas City does. I mean, they have just been so committed to the game plan, being on the same page in everything they've done. It looks like from front to end, Kansas City is just going to continue to run away with the Shield race at the top of the table.
And what I love about them this season in comparison to last, obviously they were amazing last season as well, but transitioning into this season, even defensively, I mean, things that were their weaknesses last season, you could see that they tweaked some things. So whatever Vlatko's doing with his roster, you can just tell everybody's bought in because they've had rotation within, their starting lineups a lot throughout this season, and everyone's been bought in. I mean, performance doesn't drop. It's equal. So the fact that they, have the depth that they already have, they're going to be a hard team to continue to beat throughout this season. So I think when playoffs come, that's when it's really going to get most interesting to see if the top dog, Kansas City Current, can hold on to that and win a championship this year.
Jess, I have a question for you. In this mid-season break that we get, it's a little unusual, right? Where, especially considering this summer, a lot of the U.S. internationals didn't play, right? It was only other nations, UEFA, Copa America, AFCON, that were competing. What do you have to be as a team for this to help you? And what do you have to be for it to hurt you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, at what point in your season does a break like this help? And at what point does it hurt you as a team?
Yeah, I think if you take too long of a break as a team, if everyone gets too much rest, and then trying to pick things back up where you left off, that's what will make the job much more difficult. So I love the fact that there was opportunity throughout this break. Honestly, I think this was the biggest break for the NWSL. It was very, very long, which is unusual, but I'm happy that, these teams in NWSL were able to play games against these international teams, which I think is a great test for NWSL players to see if they can, adjust to the way other teams play. Because you go to a different country, you're playing against, a team in Brazil. Obviously, they're going to be very technical, very good in tight spaces, which is a different style of play than here in the States. And so I think, with these games, it definitely helps. I don't think it hurts at the end of the day. But as far as the U.S. women's national team, I think they needed a break too. You see that Emma Hayes left off some players off the roster last camp because they had just finished their season in Europe. And, sometimes players just need a break, but, it's never too long of a break. People don't see behind the scenes what athletes do, the extra care and work that they put in. So obviously they're all still putting in work. So they'll be prepared for next camp.
Well, it's Kansas City at the top. We'll see how this break helps them, hurts them, changes Kansas City. The people on YouTube are saying that 88% of you have voted that Kansas City are going to win the Shield. It is their Shield to lose. 12% saying no, it's not. But who is going to contend? When we look at the top half of the table, only 4 points separate 5th place through 8th place. 5 points separate 4th through 8th. I mean, the top of the table is really tight once you get past Kansas City. Who's vulnerable at the top of the table that is currently in playoff positions, Jess, that maybe has a bit of weight on them that could drop them below the playoff line?
Yeah, you know what? I would say my team to look at within that bubble is Portland. They haven't been consistent this season. They're ranked 5th right now, but barely. Like you said, it's like 5 points between number 4 and 8 right now on the table. So at that point within that little bubble, I think that it's anybody's ball game. But I think for Portland, I think consistency is going to be key for them because they've dropped a lot of points when they didn't need to. But they also had some comeback games as well. But I think with those comeback games, if they can do that for 90 minutes going forward into each game, they will succeed. But I think right now they're kind of in that bubble because you never know what you're going to get out of them this season.
Yeah, I think you don't look at that. I don't think you don't look at maybe 5 through 8 and look right at that exact line. And I would argue that going into this break for Gotham FC, it kind of felt like this is a group that could use this right now. They just need a quick second to just regroup, maybe even like use this time to try to get some players, some rest and relaxation in the march towards a good second half of the season. And, along the way, maybe take care of some business. They extended Turner Davidson, who's going to be out for the remainder of the season with an ACL, but she's going to go ahead and be offered that extension to 2027. But I think of other players, in Ella Stevens, someone who probably needed some time to just sort of take care of herself and make sure that this group can sort of go ahead and tackle that second half of the season. Maybe even someone in Roosevelt who just finally got back to getting minutes before this break came out. And not only did she get these minutes, but every single one that she was marking and ticking off, she was making an impact off of the bench for that team. And then we got to see her with the national team as well. Just Rose is exactly who she is. And so that is a player who can absolutely change things for Gotham. So while maybe I'm in agreement with Jess that Portland, it's tough to be a streaky team in NWSL because it could come back and haunt you. And I think if you're Gotham, the only way you want to do is look up. You don't want to look down, because if you look down, you're dropping out of that top because they're sitting at 8 right now. So I'm looking at Gotham to maybe try to make a run in this second half.
I'm not convinced by Gotham. I am not convinced, and I don't think that is unfair of me to say, considering how they started out this season and the first half of it. Now, you can never count them out with the talent and the depth that they have, but I'm just not convinced at what Gotham can do this year. And the fact that they sit at 8th, that could either be the kick in the butt that Gotham needs to jump them up the standings, to go on a bit of a streak and a bit of a tear, or other teams are going to have a little bit more confidence. Because when I look at this top half of the table, Kansas City at the top, then Orlando, San Diego, Washington, Portland, Seattle, Louisville, Gotham. Racing Louisville I am flying high with this team. They're coming off a huge 2-0 win over Orlando. Jordan Bloomer has stepped into that goalkeeper position. She made 7 saves in that game against the Pride. They snapped Orlando's 5-game unbeaten run. I am just so excited for Louisville to come out and be this feisty, aggressive, ruthless team that they need to be to keep them at the top of the standings. This is the year for Racing Louisville. Meanwhile, for Seattle, they're fine. They're going to be absolutely fine. They are coming off 4 goals over Utah. G really found her stride at the end of that first half of the season, involved in pretty much every attacking movement. Maddie Darlene has found a little bit more of her stride. Lynn Biondolo is coming into her own with Seattle, not to mention the additions that Seattle has picked up over this summer that we are going to talk about. But when I look at the top half, I'm like, San Diego's fine. Washington's fine. Seattle, Louisville, fine. It's Portland and Gotham that I am concerned about. And for me, I am not convinced at what Gotham can do in the second half of the season. They're very vulnerable to me.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair at all. But I'm not only just looking at the top half of this table here. I'm in agreement that Portland and Thorns are probably the trickier from 5 to 8. But if we're looking at those middle of the pack, maybe I'm also looking at the 9, 10, and 11. And I don't know if I look at North Carolina Courage, Bay FC, or Angel City right now as better than Racing Louisville, as better than Seattle. I don't even know if I would say that they're better than Portland right now, or even Gotham in terms of what they could put together potentially in the second half of the season.
Angel City, I've got some love for AC. I'm a little nervous about Alex Strauss, the new coach coming in, and I think the initial impact that he made hurt Angel City. But now look, they've had 6 weeks to practice, to figure out the system he wants to play, for understanding different roles of these players. Plus they've got the Icelandic international Jonsdottir coming into the mix, who can score goals and provide a different wrinkle in the attack. Angel City is a bottom half team for me coming into this second half of the season that's going to jump up to the top half of the standings.
I got to see it to believe it, at least. Just kind of like Racing Louisville a little bit. They went on that streak and we were kind of like, oh, we've seen this before. We know how this movie ends. Like, should we actually see it? Do we want a sequel of this? And I don't know. I'm kind of getting some eerie feelings like that about Angel City. I think at certain moments in their very early history, they've kind of come off as a team that want to pride themselves on being a second half team. But I don't know if that energy is there for me this year.
Is that even a good thing? If I'm a team, I want to be
exactly. That's my point. I
don't want to be I'm a second half team.
That's my point. There we go.
I absolutely agree with both of you. For LA and Louisville, they've always been those bubble teams as well. Yeah. They give you high hopes and they start doing things for a couple games and then they drop off the next few games. You're like, hold on, what happened to that game against the Courage? Where's that fire? You know what I mean? So I'm not too convinced with Louisville or LA as well. And Bay FC is in there too. Same with Courage. I just don't see enough from those clubs this season. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We've made predictions before. Watch out.
Absolutely. Yes, give me some insight on North Carolina this year, because they are a little streaky and they've dealt with trying to change their formation at the start of the season. That now they've done it. What's it going to take for North Carolina in the second half of the season to jump up and become a playoff team?
You know what? They are lacking a lot of goals this season. They have not created enough chances in the final third. They signed Jaden Shaw, before this season started, thinking she was going to be, really the key piece, but it's been the polar opposite for them. So at the end of the day, I know that they've been missing just a big dog 9. I mean, Manaka came in and obviously she's been a huge difference maker for the Courage. But I don't think it's enough.
She's not a big dog 9.
No, that's what I'm saying. She did a little something, but she's not a big dog 9, and that's exactly what they're missing. So that's all it is. It's final third, and being able to execute and score more goals this season. So it's weird to say that they have such great possession, but just not in the final third. They're just not finishing anything.
Yeah, that's the biggest downfall, I think, for North Carolina. They actually remind me kind of a Portland team in where they're super streaky, but doing like opposite things well. Portland somehow scores and finds ways to like get the ball in the back of the net, but like I don't understand how. Meanwhile, North Carolina does everything so well outside of the 18-yard box, their attacking 18-yard box. They just can't score. It's killing me.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I don't know if I think it's a good team to tee up, Jess about, and I'm not in disagreement with whatever. Because North Carolina is literally one of those teams that are just outside of the playoff line, and yet they're just not at the top of our minds as far as a team that can make that leap into the upper half.
No, they're not. I mean, North Carolina, they're in 18 points, tied with Gotham. Gotham is just ahead of North Carolina in a playoff spot, the final one in 8th position on goal differential. Man, guys, this table is tight.
Yeah.
It is a tight way to start the second half of the NWSL season.